Hi guys, hope you guys are all doing well. My name's Afope and I'm a trichologist, and for those of you that aren't aware, it's just a fancy name for a hair and scalp specialist. My main interests and goals in this industry are really to just revolutionize hair care as we know it through education, science, and hopefully someday soon, technology. So that's what I spend the majority of my time doing, whether that's through consultations with my patients and clients or through my YouTube channel, or whether that's through collaborations that I get to do with other companies and brands in the industry, much like this fun little Q&A like we're about to get into for the main hookup. But enough about me, because you and I both know you didn't come here to learn about me, you came here to learn about hair. So let's get into these questions. Question number 1. Why does my hair never grow past a certain length? Am I doing something wrong? Well, isn't that the $1 million question? Well, the good news is that unless you have some underlying medical condition, chances are your hair is actually growing. The issue here is that your hair is likely breaking at the same rate or a similar rate as it's growing out of your scalp. But here are the facts. On average, hair grows about 0.5 of an inch every single month. So if your hair is breaking 0.4 of an inch every single month, then yeah. Now, this monthly growth happens consistently for a period of about 5 years. This phase is also known as the anagen growth phase of the hair cycle. Now, I will say that it's probably more likely than not that everyone does have a terminal length, i.e. a point where your hair growth is unlikely to supersede. And yes, this is heavily influenced by your genetics. So in terms of how much your hair will grow every single month, as well as how long that growth phase is going to last. But on average, these are the stats. So for you, it might be slightly more or it might be slightly less. Working with those average stats, 0.5 of an inch every single month works out at 6 inches every year, and within 5 years, 30 inches. Now, that's a lot of hair. That's about waist length hair. Now, even if your hair grows at a rate that's say 30% slower than the average, that still works out at about 21 inches within 5 years. And that's still a lot of hair, because that's about bra strap to mid-back length. Now, of course, these stats require that you don't experience any hair loss, any haircuts, any trims whatsoever within that 5-year period, which is obviously wholly unrealistic. But here's the thing, damage is cumulative, and so every little thing that you do to your hair will add up. And even if you didn't touch your hair once in 5 years, then the UV rays or the harsh weather from the wind and the sun will do the damage for you. So the goal here is to minimize the amount of damage that you are doing to your hair over time, which would mean that you would be inadvertently maximizing the amount of hair that you are retaining from the hair that's growing out of your scalp. A few weeks ago, I actually put up a video on my YouTube channel about how to grow your hair past your shoulders or any other length plateau. So if you'd like more tips on how you can grow your hair past a certain length, then that's a really good video to watch. Question number 2. Do you need to do a big chop to regain healthy hair? Well, like I mentioned in my response to the previous question, damage is cumulative and it's wholly unavoidable. So even if you were the best at hair care, the hair that is growing out of your scalp will almost always be healthier than the hair that's closest to the ends of your hair. And that's just because it's fresh, it's new, and it hasn't yet been exposed to as much general wear and tear as the hair that's at the ends of your head. Now, just because damage can't be undone doesn't mean that you can't still improve the health of your hair. So there are only a few cases where I personally would choose to cut instead of nurse my hair back to health, and those are excessive knots, split ends, as well as chemical or heat damage. Other than this, it is very possible to nurse your hair to better health. But as is the case with everything else in life, it's always going to take a lot more time and effort to nurse your hair back to health than to maintain it and avoid extreme damage right from the onset. So I guess the bottom line is you need to decide which option works best for you. Would you prefer to cut your hair and start fresh with healthier hair? And yes, it might be shorter for now, but healthy hair will always retain length much quicker than damaged hair will. Or would you prefer to stick with the damaged hair that you have and put in that time and effort over a long period of time to give the hair that you have a fighting chance? It's really up to you. Question number 3. What causes hair to thin? A number of things cause hair to thin. So you have both internal and external causes. So internal causes would be things like hormone imbalances, whether you are approaching or experiencing menopause, things like low iron or iron deficiency, as well as stress. Whereas the external factors would include your usual chemical, mechanical, and or heat damage. If you are experiencing notable hair thinning, then my best advice to you would be to see a trichologist so that you can get to the bottom of the cause of this hair thinning so that it can be treated appropriately and in good time. Now, I'm personally based in central London, but if you check the link in my bio, then I have a global directory of certified trichologists so that you can find one in your area, even if you don't live in the UK. Question number 4, can you do anything to prevent hair loss? If so, what can be done? So hair loss isn't a blanket problem, unfortunately, so there can be no blanket solution. Alopecia is an umbrella term for all kinds of hair loss, but within that, there are different types of alopecias. So for example, there are certain types of alopecias that are self-correcting, whilst there are others that are genetic, that can't be avoided, but if they are caught at the right time or early enough, they can be significantly slowed down. But generally speaking, for women who are in between puberty and menopause, the biggest cause of hair loss has been known to be low ferritin or low iron levels. So a good rule of thumb is to make sure that your iron and your ferritin levels are above 70 nanograms per milliliter. You can go and get a free blood test at your local GP if you are worried about your iron levels, but maybe not right now because things are kind of crazy. So that being said, I would say that the best prevention for hair loss is to have an iron-rich diet. And if you can, or if you're not somebody who eats meat a lot or red meat a lot specifically, then take a good iron supplement. I've actually got a YouTube video up on the best iron supplements that you can get. So if you haven't seen that, then that's also a really good one to watch if you are looking for which supplements to buy. Question number 5 is, when does shedding or breakage become hair loss? So you shed an average of about 100 hairs every single day, naturally. Now, these are hairs that have finished their growth phase and are just falling out to make room for the new hairs that are growing in their place. Now, I will say be mindful of the fact that a clump of 100 long hairs will always look like more hair than a clump of 100 shorter hairs. So be mindful of that so that you're not panicking unnecessarily if you feel like you have a lot of hair coming out. It could just be that your hair is longer and so it looks more. The most important thing to note here, however, is that you know your hair better than anyone else. So if you are noticing that your hair is coming out a little bit more than it usually would, or even a lot more than it usually would when you are detangling, then I would definitely say that you should seek some professional help, even if it's for no other reason than just to maintain your peace of mind and know that everything is okay. Question number 6 is, when should I start to worry about hair loss? So again, you know your hair better than anyone else. So in addition to the points that I've just mentioned in the previous question, if you are noticing that your ponytails or your puffs are looking a little bit less voluminous than they had previously, then I think you should consider reaching out to a professional. Also, if you are noticing that it's taking a lot more wraps of your hairband to wrap or to secure a particular section of hair than you would have used previously, then I would definitely say consider reaching out. Also, if you are experiencing any pain, any inflammation, any bumps, or any itching that is accompanying this hair loss, then definitely reach out. And finally, if you are noticing that the hair loss that you're experiencing is concentrated to particular areas of your hair, for example, if you have a whole bunch of hair loss in one section and so you end up having bald spots at different points of your hair, then you should definitely reach out. Question number 7. What's good to help regrow edges / baby hairs? Yo, leave those babies alone. I'm serious. The hairs around the perimeter of your scalp are the finest of all of your hairs, and so that means they are structurally weaker. But provided that the follicles have not been permanently damaged, then if you look after your hair well as a whole, then your edges should actually grow back. But there are a few things that you can do to encourage the length retention of your edges. And one of those things is to avoid wearing wigs if you can, especially if you are wearing tight wigs or if you are still wearing wigs without a wig cap. It's 2020, sis. Help me help you. The lace from the wigs or the pressure from the wigs are enough to aggravate your follicles to discourage the hair from growing or to break the hair that is growing. Needless to say, if you are still using wigs with the comb attachment to secure them, I don't really know what to tell you. You also want to lay off super sleek, super tight pulling ponytails or puffs, just because again, your edges cannot handle it. And if you are trying to nurse them back to health, then you don't want to be putting that kind of tension on your edges. And finally, it's not by force to lay your edges every single day. You can just leave them so that they can do their thing. In more severe cases, if you are experiencing traction alopecia that does not seem to be correcting itself from better hair care practices in general, then you might want to consider platelet-rich plasma therapy. So this will help to encourage or to stimulate hair growth, and then you can then continue to maintain that thereafter. So for those of you that aren't familiar with what this therapy is, it is minimally invasive. So it does require the practitioner or the person administering the therapy to take your blood. They then spin it and extract your plasma and then re-inject it into the area of the scalp that you are trying to regrow hair into. So it's 100% safe because it is using your own blood plasma. And the way it works is that it takes the plasma or the stem cells from your own blood, the growth factors that will then stimulate your hair to cause it to grow. So you can do this once, you can do it multiple times depending on how much you need to or how severe the case is. And once you start to see the results that you like, then you can continue to maintain that with healthy hair care practices. Do supplements like biotin really help to promote hair growth? A lot of hype, very little science, is all I can say. To date, the evidence to suggest that increased biotin intake may help promote hair growth is very, very limited. But there are still ample studies that show that the leading cause of hair loss is low iron and iron deficiency. So if you were going to take any supplements whatsoever to help improve your hair quality, then I would say take iron supplements that you can get over the counter, or just, a good multivitamin that has iron in them, and stop wasting your time with biotin. There are other nutrients that have been scientifically proven to help improve hair growth or hair quality, but as far as I'm aware, biotin is not one of them. What's your number one tip for someone experiencing the beginnings of hair loss? See someone. The best case scenario, it's absolutely nothing and you regain your peace of mind and your hair isn't going anywhere. Worst case scenario, it's something serious that can be treated and prevented from progressing even further because it's been caught on time. Prevention is always better than a cure. So those are all the questions for today. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you for sending these questions over. I really enjoyed answering them. If you are interested in learning about hair or hair science or any more hair tips, then please go ahead and follow me on Instagram. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel if that's the kind of thing that you're into. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for having me and I hope to be back soon. Bye.